Hey everybody, welcome back to What the Fuck Was That? This is Miranda, and I have a beloved friend of mine, the infamous Thaddeus Russell.
Infamous.
Infamous, yes, love him or hate him. I happen to love him. He is the author of The Renegade History of the United States and was host of Unregistered and now Unreported, which I want to talk about that in a little bit. But
Yeah.
I met Thaddeus after the murder. You know, everybody and their mom was emailing me trying to interview me, and the only one that I could actually get any level of trust for was Thad. And he was already coming to Acapulco, and he was the first person I spoke publicly with about what happened up there in the house that day and what led to that. And it was like an epic 4 hour podcast that when I see clips of it, I fucking cringe because, like, I looked like okay, so I can't blame people because that was a big criticism, and he's laughing because he knows what I'm gonna say. A lot of people criticize me because they're like, "Oh yeah, that girl's definitely on meth," or "That girl's
Yeah.
definitely on crack," and I was like,
Yeah.
I wasn't. I promise. I know, but I don't get mad at people because I see videos from that, and I'm just like, "Oh God."
Lily. Lily Miranda. Whatever the fuck your name is. Well, I mean, I'll never forget the first time I saw you. Was in that hotel room with John. No, sorry,
With
not with
his
John.
mom. With his
It was
mom.
with his parent, with his whole family. Yeah.
Mhm.
It felt like it's funny. You felt like it was there. It's partly because actually there was a photo of you in that same hotel room together, just like a week or two before that.
Or a
Did you know that?
similar one. We were close by. The view was almost the same because we were looking at the Coast
Oh,
Cabana. Yeah, that was when we were planning the fork.
Oh, I thought it was almost the same balcony you guys were on, that
It
picture.
was
You
it
know what
was very close. It was like 2 buildings down.
I'm talking Oh, okay. Anyway, some whatever. So, but I'll never forget it because to me, you looked like a lion.
That's a kind way to say it because
You did.
I felt so scary. Like that photo, and
You're
I'll put
the
that
way.
photo here, but there's a photo from that dinner from that day, and I look scary.
No, you did. I said it at the time. I told people after I said she looked like a lion. The way your dreads were
Mhm.
uh, was actually pretty awesome, and it was really fierce, and also what you were going through in that moment and what you had been going through for 2 years, right at that point.
Mhm.
um a lion would go through that and no one else could really survive it. So yeah, I mean, you also looked like, you know, you'd been through it and you had been through it. So, and you needed to gain some weight, and I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I was just telling you a minute ago, you look much better with the weight. And most importantly, you're like a grown ass woman now, an adult with a full life and a full face,
Right.
and in a
Right.
good way.
Yeah.
And what's it been? 5 years? No, six,
7
7 years.
7
7
years.
years. That's right. seven
Right.
years.
7 years. Yeah, so, I mean,
You've
it
grown
was
a
a
lot.
long journey. That was my speech about Acapulco this year, is like how the fuck I went from like that to like where I'm at now, right? And I'm still trying to evolve. I mentioned before this call, and I'll mention it here for the sake of transparency. I called my dad on his birthday, and the first thing he says to me is he goes, "Oh, I see you're losing weight. That's good." And I'm like, "Yeah," because the first thing he said when he came to Mexico last year is, "Oh, you're getting chunky." And I was like, "Dad,
Randy, come on.
fuck off." Like, I didn't ask you that. He's like, "Oh, you
I'm gonna
got the web gut." And I'm like, "Oh, well, this is your fault then. All right."
I'm gonna yell at Randy for that. That's some
Right.
bullshit.
Right. And then he proceeds to tell me, "I probably shouldn't tell you this, but your Uncle Gene, well, he messaged me and he asked me if you were pregnant." And I was just like, "Oh God."
You
Like,
weren't that fat. You couldn't have been that fat.
no, like I won't post the photos publicly, but like I took a photo right before I got started weight training and changed my diet, and it was literally I looked like my mother did when she was 9 months pregnant. It was crazy. And no, that partially endometriosis, right? It was like, it wasn't squish, it was hard inflammation.
And this was this just from tacos or what? Like
Okay,
what?
so no, I don't even eat tacos anymore. It was a combination of things. I had been on birth control for 15 years and I quit at 30. And I like to make the joke I hit puberty at 30 because that's when I started to look like,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
you look like a woman now. Yeah, okay. That's it. Birth
Yeah.
control. Yeah,
Yeah.
will keep you. I didn't know that. Will keep you prepubescent.
Well, it keeps you like hormonally, it makes you
Yeah,
feel like you're pregnant all the time, right?
sure. Yeah,
And
right.
then like when you get off of it, like everything just goes crazy. All the shit that was ignored goes crazy, and that's what happened. And like I found out last year I have endometriosis, and I started on like this path of trying to deal with that. And I think between strength training, psychedelic 5-MeO bufo experiments, and
What was that? I don't even know the last. What's
so
bufo? Second.
so you don't know what 5-MeO DMT is? Oh my.
Oh, oh yes, I do. Is that the frog shit? The
So
fr
5-MeO is actually the pure molecule that comes from bufo. Bufo is the name of the frog,
frog.
Bufo
Okay. Okay.
alvarius. I've done
You
that
did
too.
that?
Huh?
You did that?
I've done that.
Um,
Anarchapulco offers these retreats because
oh,
it
of course, an arco. What am I talking about? Of course, you're required to
right,
be a drug
right.
freak.
That's
Wait,
my
how many times have you done it?
okay. So technically four, but I will say three correctly because the first time I did it was with Macy Tomlin and her crazy ex-husband, and it was a terrible experience.
Oh, was that in this in the sweat lodge? You
No.
had
So
one.
the sweat lodge was before that, and there were no drugs involved in that. It was just temazcal. And I baked myself.
Really? That wasn't any. I thought there was drugs there.
You feel like you're high because
Okay.
it
All right.
it like you go from hot and then you come
What?
out like
I've
especially
had
at the Buddha and you're hugging palm trees and shit. It's
so I've had now four friends do this DMO whatever the fuck it's called frog thing and describe it to me in detail. Like and they
mhm,
laid it out like
mhm.
and they were basically positive about the experience, but every word of their description to me was disqualifying. Like I am running as far from this drug and as fast as I can.
That's
Yep.
disheartening because this
Sorry.
thing has
Sorry, honey.
changed.
Ain't
This
happening.
this thing has changed so much. Like, for example, my last experience with it is from this lovely, beautiful practitioner. Her name's Piazza. She's like a mom to me. She's like a mom and a sister and a best friend all in one. She's amazing. And now I will preface this by saying the session that I had with her was after, nearly 10 years of being friends with her and of working with her on other energetic levels. And we had this whole and she doesn't do what she did with me with anybody else. It's the first time she did that process, right? But it was a focus on women's health, well being, pelvic floor therapy, like all these
Oh.
things. And like, we'll put it this way, and maybe this is TMI, maybe it's not, but I went into this ceremony having had a cyst on my left ovary that just throbbed 24 hours a day, pulsating, throbbing pain for 6 to 8 months. I
Mhm.
left that session and I was like tearing up rose petals and like reprogramming my whole body. Like it was amazing. And then I left that session with no pain. The pain has not returned. I have this Ringcon ring, and it
Yeah.
measures sleep apnea, and my sleep apnea is gone. Um, I've dropped 5 kilos since then. I am stronger than I was before I quit training, which I want to talk about training in a bit because you also have a big focus on that in your life. But
Mhm.
like, so many things have changed just from that one session, and it's lasting. And people keep asking me, like, how are you okay? Like, or people that hear about my story after knowing me for a little bit, and they're like, how do you go from that to this? And that's a big part of it.
When did you first take it?
My first time taking it was in 2020, and it was, like I said, it was a
Oh.
terrible experience. There are only two people on this planet
Oh,
that
I
I
forgot about.
trust to give that medicine. One
Was
is
that
a
with Macy? Was that with Macy?
right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's
I
two
think it,
people I trust. One is
yeah.
Bearheart, one is Piazza. Nobody else is acceptable to me.
Well, I'm really glad, but you'll never fucking get me to do it.
Oh, I'm not here to push it on anybody, but I am
I
here
know.
to
I
say
know.
that it was they call it the God molecule for a reason, you know?
Okay. All right.
I
Well,
don't think everybody needs it. My boyfriend tried it. He tried a very low dose of it, and he came out of it, and he was like, "I was curious, but he's not traumatized. He's a healthy guy, you know. He doesn't.
yeah, I'd be
He's fine,
traumatized.
huh?"
I'd be traumatized.
I mean, you'd be surprised. I think
I'd be traumatized. I told, I mean, my mushroom experience, I don't know, when I was 19, I can't do psychedelics since then.
mushrooms are not my favorite. I
Yeah.
microdose those if I do anything with
Yeah,
mushrooms.
I macro dosed it without knowing it the first time I
Oh
ever took a
god.
psychedelic. First time I ever took a psychedelic. I'd only
Oh
smoked weed
no.
a few times at that point.
Oh no.
Um, so yeah, it was the worst night of my life. And so I can't, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
any
yeah, yeah.
psychedelic just scares me. And I know it was like I know exactly why it was a bad trip, but still I'm just terrified of it. But
Yeah,
I might
I don't think
yeah.
that the need for these sorts of substances is there for everybody, you know, like I think some people could really stand to, you know, get some healing. And I think that other people are just like, it'll be fine. You know, you don't need it.
Could it be, can I be cynical for a second about it? But not actually disbelieving. So cynical, well, let me put it up. What I wonder is going on. Again, I've never done anything except the mushrooms 40
Mhm.
years ago. But I mean, certainly I experienced it that night, and this is a common theme I hear in people describing their trips on various psychedelics. Is the first thing they describe happening is a breaking down of the ego, the self, the well, and like a humbling, like, and I would imagine I hear that a lot, maybe not you, but I hear that a lot from people, and they get like this humbling feeling, and I believe that, like I believe that, and there can be value to that. I remember the day after I woke up, when I woke up from the or when the trip stopped, and the next morning, I did feel all that, but it also kind of like I did see like a lot of my relationships differently suddenly, just
Mhm.
because I had gone through this incredibly traumatic, like
That is
what
a
do they call
traumatic experience, and
it?
these can be traumatic, yeah.
Ego, but it did feel like ego destroying in a way. Like I felt demolished as an ego, and so it did sort of. I felt like flattened, but there is something of value actually when you're flattened. You do see the world differently, and I kind of changed my life in sort of small ways around it. But I did see things differently, and I'm wondering. So that would be like, but that is to say it's still useful and could have all the same effects you're talking about, but maybe it's just not. Maybe that's all that it is. I mean,
I think
not
it depends, you
okay.
know, because like for me, specifically when you think of like 5-MeO, there's two phrases that kept playing in my head the whole time that kind of encapsulate what it did for me. One of them was, this is why I did all of that. This is why I did all of that. Because I was having this montage of like all of the beautiful things that exist in my life now would not be here if I didn't go through all the ugly shit, you know? And at
Yeah.
the same time, enmeshed in that, there is a quote from a Brother Ali song. I quote him like he's the Bible writer, I guess. But
Yeah.
there's a quote from one of my favorite songs of his that says, "Too much beauty to behold by one person." So I was just it drops me into my body, and I tend to do it right before I enter Acapulco, and it drops me into my body. It reminds me why I do what I do. And Acapulco coincides every year with the anniversary of me being in Mexico. This year was 10 years in Mexico. And there's always that part of me that's like, why the fuck did I do that? I'm still dealing with all my legal issues. So I'm like, what the fuck, you know? And it reminds me why. So there's not necessarily an ego death for me. I don't come out of it feeling squashed. I come out of it feeling the best way I've described it to people, and it's real concise, is imagine you have your brain's a library and there's books all over the place. And imagine Bufo as the nice librarian that's walking through, looking at the book, putting it back in its place, walking through, looking at the book, putting it back in its place, and having a nice conversation with you while you do it. That's exactly what it is.
Here's what I think it is. I think I think the bufo shows you a world in which the library is burned down, and because you're in the trip, you believe you're in this world, and so you see this, and you see that every book is gone, and then whatever it is, 20 minutes later, you're out of the trip. You're like, oh, thank God, oh Jesus Christ, I have a new appreciation for books. I'm going to go look in that library so much more carefully now because
I
it's
want
so
to
much
know
more.
what those other people describe to you because I've never had that experience. But it does. Well, no, I have had that experience. That's not true. My first Bufo experience, like, oh man, I don't
And you
even
did
want
it
to describe
again,
it, huh?
and you did it after that. You did it again after that,
So
even though that was your
I took
experience.
3 years, and then I met Bearheart. Bearheart is like he's like the big brother I never had. Well, that's not true. I do have a big brother, but he's like the big, like manly brother. Like he looks like he could be my brother and
Right.
everything. Like red beard and all that.
Yeah.
Tattoos, like big dude. We look related. Anyway, I told him about my experience and I said I had a lot of hope built up for that experience and this is what I had. And he said, "Okay, so here's everything that I would never do about that experience that doesn't make sense to me. And if you ever want to try again, like he comes down for Anarchapulco every year and we have the choice to or not. And I was like, I do. And I was with my ex at the time, and my ex was like, I'm going to leave if you do that. And we were already breaking up. And I was like,
Talking about B?
hmm?
You're talking about B? You're talking about B?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And I'm just like, fuck off, man. And then, like, but a year later, I did it. And I remember I was like in the trip and I asked Otak, which is the spirit that, the name of the spirit that Bearheart gives to. And I was like, oh, I should have did this sooner. And Otak said, you had to learn how to receive. You weren't ready yet. And it showed me like the face of my boyfriend who had like in the meantime had come down to Mexico. And as you know, he had taken me to all these places and just been an absolute angel with me and showed me, how guys should treat a woman, right? And I was like, oh, okay. And then after that, it was just healed. My relationship.
yeah. I mean, I also know that, or I'm sure that a ton of it is who you're with when you're
Right.
doing it.
Mm-hmm.
A ton of it, if
All
not
of it.
everything.
All of
Yeah,
it.
maybe all of it. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, right. Yep.
All of it. Yeah.
So,
Like I
yep.
said, I would only ever trust two people. And when those
Yeah.
two people pass away, maybe three, because Vistarda does two, but like two people, when
Right.
those two people are gone from this earth, so is my relationship with
Right.
that medicine.
So the way not to do psychedelics is to go into a dark basement room with 3 18-year-old boys, and one of them hands you in the dark so you can't even see it. He just says, "Here, take this, hold out your hand, eat it." And I was like, "Sure, okay." And I did, and I think it was like a handful. So whatever that is of mushrooms, it was a handful.
It depends on the variety. If it was penis envy, that's
Yeah.
like four handfuls of a golden teachers. Yeah.
Whatever my brain melted for 6 hours. So whatever that is. I mean, yeah. Anyway, so don't
Mushrooms
do
are
that.
hard. Like I don't like I've had experiences with them, but I think I'm kind of over mushroom experiences because they're difficult.
Damn. So you're really on the frog juice, huh?
Well, like I do it once a year, and that's
Okay.
it,
Okay.
you know.
And it's
Once,
very
maybe
ceremonial,
twice.
right? Very
Yeah,
ceremonial.
it's a whole thing, right? And I wouldn't keep doing it if I didn't feel just so much better.
Actually, my buddy Jason, who just got out of a 3 year stint for dealing ecstasy, he used to do ceremonial. He used to do that in ceremonies on a regular basis. In the Marin foothills or highlands, he would go. I don't know. He invited me several times, never did it. But I think it was DMNOT. What is it called?
5-MeO,
Five
DMT.
MEO. Yeah, I think it was that. And he did other stuff too. But yeah,
It
very
depends
ceremonial.
it depends on how you do it, and there are ways to be a medicine person without breaking the law, even in the United States, like, that's how Bearheart does it.
Oh
He is
yeah.
he is a certified Native American medicine person because he learned everything that he knows from the Native Americans. He was raised by those people, so
It's illegal here though, isn't it?
it is, except for certified Native American
Really?
medicine people.
Oh.
especially like because it's from the Sonoran Desert, and the Sonoran Desert stretches up in Arizona and shit. So
Yeah.
like that's where that frog is from, and so
Yeah.
there are certain loopholes, but the
Yeah.
majority of these people don't do that, and the majority of these people are just trying to get people fucked up, and
Yeah.
that's not what it's
Yeah.
about. And actually,
Yeah.
the magic is in the lower doses.
Yeah. My friend is a certified Jewish American, so I don't think he qualified. Um, maybe somewhere he would, but anyway, yeah. So you want to talk about training? The
Yeah, let's
greatest thing,
talk about
the
training.
greatest thing, the only thing better than drugs, right?
I mean, kind of,
And
yeah, because
sex.
that's how
I
I quit
mean,
weed. Was
besides
I got into circus training, and then I realized I didn't need weed to manage panic attacks, and it was making them worse. And then I just quit like 4 years ago, and now all I do is circus tricks, and now I lift weights too. Like I'm pretty strong.
it's
Yeah.
incredible because again, when I met you, one of the things I also thought was you look like a lion, but also a bit like a cannabis leaf because you had like it seemed like you had it coming out of your pores. But I was like, your hair kind of had a little, cannabis leaf look to it a bit. I don't know.
You're not wrong. Yeah,
John's definitely did. He just looked like a big a weed bush, but
he
like
did.
a skinny weed bush.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were like dabbing only, like exclusively
Mhm.
dabbing for
And I was
years.
dabbing 24 hours a day. Like I would
I
wake up
know.
at 3 in the morning, not able to sleep, and go and just like what the fuck? Why did I think that was okay? Um, yeah.
And
Why
now
did
look at you. You look like, I mean, you look like you're, I mean, a young mom in an Ohio suburb who's like on her way back from the yoga class. Like, how did this
that's
happen?
wild.
The transformation is just remarkable. Like, you could run for Congress now if you can't looking like this. Like, you're like
That's
all American, wholesome. You look
I
like you
even
never
have
touched.
pink nails.
You look like you never touched a drug. You look like you work for some mission somewhere. Like you're like out there converting the
People
Indians.
here think I'm a Mennonite. So
Right.
a
Yeah. You
Mennonite
could.
like covered in tattoos, but a Mennonite.
Yeah. Yeah. You're out there trying to convert the Purepecha finally. They refuse to convert to all of it, but now you're gonna get them because you look like this now.
Right.
Um.
Well, you
So
said you got back into boxing after a hiatus.
Mexico's been very healthy for you, actually, if you look at it. Right? Think about it. Like if you think about Mexico for you, like what is it, 9 years now?
10 years.
10 years? Yeah. So right. Wow. Right. So think about how you were physically, just physically, because not just the way you look, but like, holy shit, like you
So
had
so you wanna know a nerdy reason as to why Mexico
umpteen
is
health
so friendly?
problems.
You wanna know
What's
why
that?
Mexico's so friendly to me?
The people, because the people are so beautiful and
Well,
peaceful.
there's a much nerdier reason than that, and my
Oh,
my my
okay.
man loves to tell everybody this, but he's right. So first off, I'm born in Year of the Rooster, right? In
Mm,
Chinese zodiac, each sign has two friends. My friends are the ox and the snake. Mexico was founded in Year of the Snake.
mm,
Mexico also begins with the capital letter M, as
there
does
you
my
go.
name. The city that I'm founded in
Mm.
was founded on the 18th of the month, as was my birthday. Like, there's a lot of little, like,
Whoa.
numerological and astrological things that make it so this is the best place I could have ended up.
Do you think Perry, Ohio and Mexico are somehow connected in the universe?
They're enemies. So, Ohio was founded in Year of the Pig. Pig and
Oh, the
snakes
state.
are enemies.
You're talking about the state, not the town.
Yeah, but it's a state of Ohio that's against me. And Perry did nothing to me.
That's
Perry,
true. The county did, didn't they?
yeah, but it's their state charges.
That's true.
The
Okay,
county
you're right.
goes to the
You're
state.
right. It
Yeah,
wasn't the city cops who pulled you over. That's
right.
true.
It was, and if you look at my charges, it says the state of Ohio.
That's true.
So
That's
that's
true.
the
I'm always pretty soft on local cops, especially small town cops. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just generally don't look at from as an anarchist. I don't look at them quite as viciously as I do state and
well,
federal
well, you gotta consider like the
in big
last
city.
time we talked, the reason like I didn't pursue the asylum process, or the reason I actually didn't pursue getting my charges dropped in
When'd you get
Ohio,
this?
this
Yeah.
I have this tattoo matching with Kat. This is our wifey for lifey tattoo.
When did you get that?
2023.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It
Yeah.
fucking hurt. It's probably my most painful one, especially up here. But
Ouch. Oh God, yeah.
yeah.
Sensitive.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying
Yeah, but
something about the
basically
state.
it turns out that the deputy sheriff in that area, super anti-immigration of any kind. He was threatening to send immigrants to the houses of Kamala supporters if she won the presidency. He was threatening voters, all sorts of things like that. But like long story short, the way that that whole local system is the reason why, even though weed is legal in Ohio, even though I've been sober for 4 years,
I
as
know.
next month it'll be 4 years,
Doesn't matter, right?
they're not gonna, they don't want to work with me. They won't
I
even
told
work
you,
with me.
I told you 7 years ago. I said it's not the weed that they're pissed off about. It's the rejection. It's the fleeing. It's the rejection of the state.
That's
It's
exactly
it's
what it
the
is.
it's the fuck you to the state that really. That's what I said. I don't think they'll forgive that. They'll forgive the weed, but not
And I'm
the.
willing to go back and be like, guys, I fucked up. I'll say whatever
Well,
they want me to say, but they
they don't want
won't
you to
even tell me what
say.
they want me to say.
You don't think they're going to force time on you if you go back?
I have no idea, which is why I haven't gone back.
Well, I know,
They
but I would.
might, they might not.
Oh God, I would imagine they would, but only like months, not a year.
But the
But
problem is I work 6 days a week. I have so many
no, you
clients.
can't do that. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
don't think it would be
I think it's
whatever.
self-sabotage,
I
people
think
think you
I'm
just
saying I think they would. I think they would lock you up, but as
Mhm.
a message, So,
Right,
but anyway,
right.
fuck, I cannot believe you're still dealing. And then there was the sheriff. Uh,
Undercover.
no, no, the main the yeah, the sheriff of the county where you guys caught the charges
Mhm.
ended up. I did the research on him. I found out he was one of the cops at Kent State for the killing of the protesters. He was there for that. He was one of the. I don't know if he shot anybody, but he was.
No, no, you're right, he
Yeah,
was, because he just
yeah,
retired last year. Now they
yeah.
have a new one. Who's worse?
I was like, what a resume, dude. You start with Kent State and you end with Lily and John. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, he's just a little petty fascist. But
Right.
anyway, let's talk about good things. Let's talk about the best thing in the world to do, other than yeah, yeah, do drugs. Training.
Training, yeah. How's it feel getting back into boxing after being out for a while?
Yeah, so I mean, I started in 2008. It was the first time I'd ever put on a pair of gloves, even, and I was 42 at the time. Yep, 42. And so yeah, and I trained, and a few years. I was into it, but not hardcore. But about 3 years into it, I got really hardcore, obsessive, kind of your level with circus stuff. Whereas you think about it all the time, even when you're not training, right?
Mhm.
And you can't wait
Mhm.
to go to the gym, and you
Mhm.
like study it when you're not training. That's when you know that you're hardcore, is when you like study the thing, like you watch videos and things, and just think about like, how am I going to throw that left hook next time? And then I got into Muay Thai very seriously too, and was sparring like 4 or 5 times a week. And I was in my 40s, and I was sparring like guys in their 20s, and I just loved it. And it changed anyway. So I stopped drinking then, and that was a big part of it. I mean, it gave me another thing to do besides drinking that was even more exhilarating. And then I lost like 50 pounds, and I kept it off for years, and I was like in the best shape of my life when I turned 50. Um, and I wanted to become a coach. I still do in the sport. And if I could like make that happen professionally, I might even consider it, because it's just like it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And then the gym. I know this is I'm sure part of your thing too with the circus. The gym itself and the people in it, the community is like maybe the best part of the whole thing. If you
Right.
find the right gym, if you have the right gym, which usually I've been to 20 gyms, by the way. I've trained at 20 gyms all around the country. And most of them are really good, but and they're when they're good, they're just like it's incredible because you leave everything outside, of course, the gym. I don't even know what people's politics are. I have no idea. And a lot of times I'm training with cops, by the way, because cops do a lot of they do a lot of martial arts and combat sports. But I don't care. Like, and you become, and especially when there's risk, like with what you're doing and what I'm doing, when you're doing a sport where there's risk involved. I used to be a rock climber, same thing, where you're working with partners and you depend on them for your safety, each other. That's the kind of like bond I've never experienced. Like every time we spar at the end, we hug. And it's like, it's so incongruous because boxing is such, people think of it such a like, oh, kill you, warriors, primitive, savage, macho sport, which it is sort of, but actually it's all about taking care of each other. And so then
Right.
it becomes, it caught, so that I've never, that's like one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. And I heard Gina Carano, do you know her? She's the movie star who's also a UFC fighter.
I've heard
She,
of
I just heard her describe exactly the same thing. She said, yeah, after she said, I fell in love with the sport because after we sparred, we would hug. And that moment was like that bonding with the person you were just sparring with, punching in the face, kicking in the face, is like magical. So, and it, yeah. So I bet you there's a lot of that in what you're doing, right?
there is. And like there is that sort of family quality. Now I'm in the interesting position in that I've kind of shifted my circus family because I had a much bigger circus family. I was taking classes 3 to 4 times a week. But after I quit birth control and I was chronically inflamed, I couldn't train in quite the same ways. Like if I bent literally endometriosis, you tear lesions and you're bleeding internally. You know, that's literally how it works. And if I felt resistance at a certain spot, the way that my teacher was, he's very hardcore. You do it because you're in my fucking class. Well, I would end up in pain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I kind of stepped back from that and I shifted to this new place. But it's still the same because when you're there with people, no matter your skill level, you're always risking your lives, you know, like doing especially dynamics and drops and stuff. So there's that base level of respect, right? Of
Yeah.
like, you're
Well,
hardcore, I'm hardcore.
of trust.
Also, especially
Yeah.
when
I
you're
mean, that's,
doing duos, like my friend
yeah.
Stephanie has literally put her life
And
in my
respect
hands.
is crucial. Yeah.
Right.
Respect is crucial. Like, yeah. If you respect someone in the gym, then I'm willing to submit to them totally, like to their authority. You
Hmm.
know, I love that actually. When I know that a coach is good and knows what he's talking about, I actually love, even though I'm like the opposite in the rest of my life, you know, I'm very,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love totally submitting to authority in the gym when I respect them. I hate it when they're dumb, but like usually I respect them. And it's, there's something about, it's liberating because I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to make the decision about what to do. I just do the thing. I don't have to think
Well,
about it.
really, like in general, these sorts of physical activities, boxing is in, I think, very similar to aerials in this way. You are unable to focus on
It is.
what's in your head when you're doing that. You have to drop into your body or you're fucked. You know,
Yeah.
like if you're too
No.
focused on what's in your head about
Yeah.
stupid shit that doesn't matter, you're going to hurt yourself
Uh,
or get hurt.
I'll bet. I don't know the statistics, but I'll bet you because I know statistics for sports that are similar. I'll bet you what you're doing is actually more dangerous, a little bit more dangerous than boxing. I'll bet you the injury rate is higher.
Well, people have
Um,
fallen and died. Like if you fall
yeah.
from a
Right.
20 foot directly on your head, you're dead,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. 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 Like cheerleading is, I know, like there's more deaths in cheerleading than any other sport. You know, just because of the drops, just
Right.
similar thing. So I thought I So yeah, when it's that and rock climbing, what I used to do, of course, is more dangerous, but and similar reason. But yeah, it's man, when I got once I got my life truly saved when I was rock climbing. The guy caught me 6 feet off the ground, like I fell 20 feet, and he caught me, and I was
Ooh.
looking in his eyes when I hit the bottom. I was looking in his eyes, laying sideways, and like the bond I had ever since with Walter, who caught me, is just like intense. Like if I ever see him on the street or whatever, it's just like immediate thing.
The aerialist version of that is when we perform and we work with a rigger, and the rigger, there's two ways to get lifted up all pretty to start spinning and get lifted up.
Right,
One is a
right.
machine called a widge or a rig or something like that. The other one is a rigger, and it's literally a guy holding a rope that pulls the rope. And
Yep.
like I have worked I'm friends with a rigger that owns the gym that I work with, and he is exceptionally good at what he does. And then I'm still to this day, I have this soul bond with the guy that lifted me repeatedly in shows I've done locally. His name's Cuckoo, and there's a bond when it's like, bro, you could have dropped me and killed me, and you didn't. So thanks, you know. And in
It's
the
kind of
duo stuff, like when you're performing and you have somebody hanging, you do a wrist grab like this, and that's all
it's
you have, and you have
it's
somebody else's
kind of
life.
it's kind of a big deal when
It is.
someone is keeping you from dying, is protecting your actual life, not your
Mhm.
feelings, not a minor injury either. Like they're keeping you from dying
Right.
or breaking your head or breaking your neck, or like it's a
And the
huge thing.
and the girl
And
that I do the most duos with is now my like assistant and partner at Acapulco, and she's one of my best friends in this
hmm,
world because when you can do that stuff together, you know, working together in a professional sense is just it's easy.
yeah, and you're bonding through the sport. You
Mhm.
trust the other person to catch you if you respect their commitment to the sport, basically, right? I mean, if
Exactly.
they're like, right, and so it's like this third thing that's binding you together, which is neither's ego, right? And so the thing that keeps you together is neither's ego. And in fact, the thing that keeps you together requires you to subsume your ego, to a large extent. I
You
mean,
also
to
have to learn to communicate, like if you can't
yeah,
communicate with the person, like that's where
yeah,
the accidents
yeah,
happen. You both can have
yeah,
drive, but if you won't can't talk to each other,
yeah,
somebody's going to get dropped, literally.
yeah. Yeah, and it's an intimate communication too, because you're talking about these very intricate, tiny maneuvers with your body, each other's body, and how they're interacting. It's boxing's the same way,
And
how they're interacting.
and
Yeah,
and to make it weird when you've got another girl's ass in your
Hmm.
face,
That
you
must be terrible.
it's not. It's not,
I mean,
especially.
I don't know how it is for you, but
I
just
mean,
saying.
well, this is neither here nor there, but I realized sometime in the last couple of years that I really like Latinas. So I am
Oh, good.
totally fine with this. It is all right.
Wow.
It's a thing.
I'm sure your your man is happy about that.
He's just happy that he can look around in public and I'm not going to get mad. And I'm actually the one that's doing more looking than he is. And I point people out and stuff. And he's
Oh
just like,
my, very good, very liberated relationship.
I mean, that's how it should be. If you make something taboo, that's where it becomes desirable and a fetish and all the weird shit that
Yeah,
comes with it.
yeah. So I was out of the gym. Actually, I said 2 years. It was actually 3 years.
Mm.
I got a weird injury from Muay Thai, which is I had nerve, not damage, but a horrific thing that's um, just now subsiding. But from kicking, it actually did something to a muscle inside my glutes that like compresses on two major nerves. And it does so spontaneously. It's a spontaneous spasm, and it's been hard. It's actually when I met you in Acapulco, that was like the worst it was. I was in pain all the time,
A
especially
literal
sitting
pain
down.
in the ass.
Yeah, and yes, but also down my leg because it was sciatica too, and
Mhm.
all through my midsection. Yeah. So anyway, so I had to get out. So I finally stopped going to the gym for a while, and then other stuff happened too. Anyway, which was terrible, terrible for your mental health. And I got back in a month ago, and it was just like, wow, back in paradise. I just love it so much because I found a good gym that's right near me. And it's really cool in a lot of different ways, and so I'm just like pig and shit. Of course, then I injured myself 3 weeks in because I was going so hard. Like I screwed up my knee somehow, which I don't even know how you do in boxing. I was just going so hard that I just managed to tweak my knee. Anyway, who cares? I'm back in boxing. It's awesome. Everyone should do martial arts or the circus, I think.
I think everybody should just move their ass. That's really it. Like, find a way to move your
Yeah.
ass that is fun and do it. Because, man, I don't know what I would do without. And I've done it. Like, I quit more or less for like 4 or 5 months while I was traveling last year. I went to Cancun and got stuck there for a while. It was an epic adventure, but also I didn't do any training of any kind, and I gained even more weight. That was where I realized the pregnancy looking
Oh
vibe.
yeah.
But when I got back, I realized I had a lot of work to do to regain my strength, but like I was happy and almost in tears, like, okay, finally. And then last week I was like, okay, I'm beast mode now. Like, this is
Right? I
like,
know that
let's
feeling.
fucking go. I can do shit I couldn't even do before I quit, you know? So
Yeah. Yep. I know that feeling.
sometimes you gotta rest,
Yeah.
man. Rest
Well,
is the
wait. So
thing.
what what you do is silks, right? Within Circus, like Circus is the broader category, or do you do
Yeah,
more than
so
silks?
I specialize in trapeze and the hammock, which is basically
Trapeze.
trapeze is my favorite.
Have I seen you do trapeze? No.
Probably. It's the bar
You-
with the 2 ropes.
I know what a trapeze is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll send you a
Oh, I've
video
seen
of
you on
me
it.
last week on the trapeze.
Oh, okay, I guess so. Okay.
It is I've performed it repeatedly.
Well, that's often part of silks, right? Is a trapeze is in
Well,
it.
trapeze is different because silks is fabric. It's soft.
I know. But
Trapeze
aren't there
is
like
rough rope in a rough bar.
you've done just trapeze?
Oh, I love trapeze. I have a purple trapeze. I have it in my closet here.
I don't know if, why have I not seen that? I thought I've
My
seen all your
WhatsApp
videos.
photo is of me on a trapeze.
Oh, okay.
Check it out.
I'll look again. Okay. Anyway, well, okay, so you do trapeze, silks, and what was the third one?
Hammock, but I
Hammock.
do mostly hammock. Hammock is
I
literally
do the
just a
hammock.
silk in
I
a
can do the hammock. The
so can
hammock's
Hensa.
easy.
That motherfucker never leaves his hammock.
Badass.
But
Well, especially
literally,
when you live in Mexico. Yeah.
yeah, a hammock is described as a silk that doesn't have the 2 ends flowing. It's just like a loop. And it's very similar to a trapeze. You can do a lot of the same moves, but you don't have this fucking bar because the bar hurts. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the bar hurts. I have bruises and burns and stuff from it, especially
Huh.
on like my hips. But
Ouch.
I mean,
Damn.
you got to be a little bit of a masochist to like this, you know,
Uh-huh.
to like, oh
Yeah.
man, look at this bruise I have with like a sense of pride.
Yeah. So tell me more about the problems you've been having with girls' asses being in your face. Is that
It's
a
not a problem, and it doesn't happen as
No, I
commonly
just want to hear more about it. I just want to hear more about the problem.
as. Well, like when you are both on the same apparatus, they're gonna
Ah.
climb above you, they're gonna climb below you.
Oh.
Sometimes the legs are being wrapped around your torso and they're hanging like it's a thing, you know, like it is yeah. And it's funny because I was like coming to this as I got in a circus, like I went in a circus like I'm a straight girl. And then I got in a circus and I like
Oh,
and then I'm staring too long and I'm like, wow.
what did I just say? Everyone should do the circus, especially women. Apparently, it would be a wonderful thing. If
I mean,
wow, that's cool.
it is
It
cool, but
it
also
opened you up.
like it helped me to step into my femininity, you know, like I didn't wear makeup.
Yeah,
I didn't get
sure,
my
right.
nails done. I didn't wear dresses even really when I started getting
Yeah,
into this,
yeah.
but like
It didn't make you into a dyke. It just made you appreciate women's bodies, right? Not a
exactly.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And including my own, you know, I had a deep disconnection. I often say if I was raised as like a kid in today's school system, they'd have me on hormones and be telling me I'm trans because I never felt connected to being a woman until I was 30. I didn't feel like a boy, but I also didn't feel feminine, you know? I didn't have any feminine like hobbies. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
I didn't feel pretty most of the
Yeah, why
time.
was that? Because you had sisters.
My sister was the same way, you know? Like, my sister, she's still a tomboy. I've talked to her
Well, that's
about it because
true.
her daughter's had these struggles, and she's just
Yeah.
like, "Damn."
I always I always thought actually for both of you, I thought that was really just a thing about toughness
And it
more
is.
than lack of femininity. Like I don't see Kat as lacking being unfeminine.
You know, that's a good point. Like, had we had different upbringings, would
She
we have
she strikes me as as a tough but feminine woman. Like
She
that's
is. Which I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm trying to bring her to Mexico in the next 6 months. We'll see.
good.
Yeah.
God, she deserves. Has she ever been?
No.
Fuck. Yeah, no, do that. She deserves that.
Right. I'm bringing
Man,
dad back for Christmas. I'm trying to bring them both once a year moving forward, just because I'm
she's
fucking
awesome.
tired of being away from them.
But same with you too. I mean, it required obviously. I mean, I talked about you being a lion. Like it required just toughness to get through what you guys got through. Like
Yeah.
even before you got to Mexico. I mean, what you all went through as kids.
Right.
So that's I always honestly like read both of you in that way. Like I never saw you as like butch or whatever. I just see it as toughness.
I didn't
Feminine
even
women.
see it as butch, but when I look at photos of me, even from like,
You
I looked like a little
well,
boy almost. Because I
well, that
didn't
was
have nothing for curves or anything, like
yeah,
I was
yeah,
shaped a little bit like a boy, and
yeah, right.
now I'm just not. To the point to where, like, I had a man run
I know.
across a parking lot chasing after me to get my phone number last week, and I was like, "I'm basically married. I'm sorry, I can't help
I
you."
bet. I mean, especially with the strawberry blonde hair in Mexico, I would imagine you get a little bit of
Right.
attention.
The big blue
Yeah.
eyes,
And the blue
like
eyes, I bet you get a little bit of attention, yeah.
yeah.
Especially now that you look like a woman
Especially now that I look like a woman. Yeah.
and not a tough, scrawny girl.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
Hitting puberty
Interesting.
at 30 was wild.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I'm happy for it, like that's part of why I'm writing the books that I'm writing and stuff like that is because I want there to be a guidebook, so to speak, on how to go through what I went through and not be a traumatized piece of shit.
Mhm.
Because so many people go through less and they use it as an excuse to fall out on drugs, to engage in terrible, behavior and put themselves at risk and all these other things, to be shitty people. And I just did the total
Uh,
opposite.
I mean, it is a miracle, but the fact that I mean, that not that you came through, but that anybody would go from there to here is a miracle. Um, the fact that your sister, to me, really did the same, just in a very different way. But like she's through it, and she's a strong, independent person, right?
Especially
Um,
now. She was not independent even a year ago because she was essentially
well,
her
besides the,
husband, terminal illness.
I know,
She was responsible, but she is
but
busted.
besides,
So,
I know, but besides that, I mean, but the
yeah.
fact that she was running the whole show though. I mean, she
Mhm.
was right. She was in charge of this whole fucking thing, family that she had. Yeah, I mean, and holding down a not not lovely job to do so. I mean, for so long, and that's tough, and that's like takes a strong inner core. How many people from Perry, Ohio, with similar backgrounds are dead now, or in prison, or strung out? Right? I mean,
I
so
talk to a lot of my friends because I've befriended a lot of people online I used to be friends with. Most of them are on antidepressants. I talk to them about my life, and they're
that,
like, "I'm
yeah,
jealous of you," and I'm like, "You're jealous of me. I don't get a
yeah.
bank account. I don't get a passport.
Oh,
I got
they're
charges, and
hella
you're
jealous of
jealous."
you. Of course,
Yeah,
are you kidding me? Of course
I'm
they
like,
are. Oh my
I
god.
mean, I do have a cool life. I travel around Mexico with my really fat cat and my lovely
I
man.
think
And
I mean, the only thing that's wrong with your life, as far as I can tell, and it's not small, is that you can't back to the United States. But
it's
other
papers,
than that, who would not rather have your life than the life of your Ohio friends? I mean,
right?
oh, well, I'd rather have your life than a Wall Street executive's life. I mean, there's a lot of people you beat, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but I was going to say, like, so I see it this way. Although your other sibling didn't do so well, but or two of them, but the fact that the two girls did, I think, speaks to something original in the family that was strong.
Yeah, there
Something.
there is a strength there, but yeah, like my youngest brother, because I have three brothers, one older, and he's got some health issues and stuff like that, but
And
he's more or less
one of them
financially.
one of them passed, right?
Yeah, and then that's what I'm saying. The youngest one, he
Yeah.
passed. He wasn't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
20, you know,
I know.
and
Right.
he passed from drugs because he couldn't handle
And I talked to him
their
once,
life.
right? I think I talked to him once or
I think
twice.
so. I think
Yeah.
so. He's a good kid, but
And then the
trouble.
other one, and there's one who's gay.
Yeah, that's my older brother.
Right.
And he's a great person. He's just I know he's and maybe he'll be pissed hearing this, but I know he's lonely. I know that there are things he wishes were different about his life, but I'm pretty sure he's the only one out of us that owns a house, and he has a very stable job, and he's also like
What's the
on the
problem?
side a Haitian priest, from my understanding, and does like witchcraft for money, and it's fucking dope.
I didn't know your brother was Haitian.
He's not, but he learned from the
I know he's not.
Haitians.
Oh, okay. Was he still in Ohio?
He's in Texas, I want to say. Yeah. I've been trying to
Oh,
convince him to come to Mexico, and he's like, I'm too pretty to get sexually trafficked. And I'm like, I hear you.
wait.
And
Wait a second. He has a house, he's pretty, and he's lonely? How could that be?
he is a very intense, and he's also very independent, and he doesn't deal with people's bullshit. And the reality is, the dating game in the United States is a fucking joke.
Well,
Yeah.
yes and no. I mean, I just went through it, as you know. I mean, I don't know. That's a longer story. We can talk about it some other time, but unless you want to talk about it. But anyway, I think there's something original in your family. It's not just,
Yeah.
I mean, it is that you made a lot of right choices in the last 8 years, but 7 years, but there was something, well, also just the
Maybe
fact that
it's the
you,
autism.
well, I mean, yeah, it's that single-minded focus, keeps you going forward. Yeah.
Right.
Uh, I mean, no, I mean, just literally that you survived the 2 years, right?
Mhm.
From the arrest to the shooting. Literally, I mean, physically, that you just physically survived that. Because you could have been killed in all sorts of ways, or just died from starvation,
Right. Which
or
almost happened.
exposure. I
Right.
know, I mean, both of you looked like, but especially you looked like you had been like living in the desert for a while. Like you looked like you'd been living in a cave. So, and you kind of were, sort of, almost. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something about you made it through all that insane shit, which we still need to make a movie about.
I mean,
Like,
I'm working on it. I don't know if you can see, there's the comic book that's happening. That's me and my
I
dad on this
know,
motorcycle. That's
I
the
know.
next
I know.
mission.
We got, so that's the script, or it's
That's
the
just one way I'm telling the story because I'm writing a book. And that's also part of what this podcast is about is to tell the stories, because like so much is just trapped in my head. But really, like, I think that there's some sort of higher purpose of why the fuck I was sent here to go through all this shit and to get all these various health issues and to find ways to heal them. Because for the most part, like I'm healthy, and the proof of it is in my skin. Like I look pretty all right, all
it's
considered.
obvious. It's obvious. Yeah, yeah.
So, like, I mean, some I was all this shit happened for a reason that's still being revealed to me. I think my purpose partially is to help people, but I know I already have because I've had probably more than 100 people message me since the series came out and said, I didn't kill myself because of you. Because I was suicidal. I watched that series and I was like, well,
Right.
she didn't do it, so I don't really have a good excuse.
That's right. Yeah. No, there was
That's
some
interesting.
kind of strength, even though you weighed, what, 90 pounds?
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Definitely don't weigh that now.
just to physically, honestly, just to physically survive those 2 years in particular, like
And
it's something.
all the little things that happen
There
that
was
most people don't
some,
know about.
yeah, right. And right. And then yeah. And then to just, well, and to survive your childhood. I mean,
Right.
you could have been shot when you were a kid. Like,
I told you
so
about those letters, right? That
which
my
ones?
mom wrote to her best friend about how she had supposedly been shot at while pregnant with me. Like there was a drive by.
No.
She was in the car getting cigarettes, and apparently now my dad claims that there was
God.
a different reason, but my mom is convinced that she was shot at. And regardless of if she was or not, when you're
Oh, I
pregnant,
believe it.
being
Why
shot
wouldn't she
at,
be?
that has
Why
an
wouldn't she be shot at?
I mean, she had enemies.
She was a drug dealer. Of course she got shot at.
But also, like, my dad was married when he met my mom. So that's the thing. He's
Oh,
married, and then
I know that.
no,
I don't know if I knew that.
and also that woman ended up becoming a
Randy.
lesbian anyways, or she already was a lesbian, or she was bi. He said she was bi, but she left him for a woman. It was a whole thing. But she was not okay with the fact that him and my mom ended up together. And apparently they had tried to have children and they couldn't.
Hmm.
And then for my mom to come in and being her fertile self immediately get knocked up and me come out, you know.
Did your mom did she have a name, like a nickname beyond Red? Was it like Perry Red or Ohio Red or like
No,
Cuyahoga Red?
just red, Michelle
I
or
mean,
red.
I mean to leave. I'm and I mean this. I'm sure your mom really had a lot of attractive qualities, but like to leave your wife for a major drug dealer, your mom must have been,
I mean, she was though, you know, like
yeah. I bet she was. I bet she
she
was.
she was something truly special. And he says they broke up before then, regardless. Even if they did, the lady was spiteful because I met her randomly in a grocery store when I was 15, and she just walked up
Who?
to me and got in my face. This my dad's ex-wife. She got in my face and
Uh-oh.
she just stared at me. And I was like, I don't know who this is. And my dad walked up behind me and was like, Barry, which was her name. And she was like, oh, and she ran away. And I was like, that was Barry? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, and she knew who the fuck I was just a glance, you know, because I had my dad's eyes and the rest
Oh.
of my mom.
Oh, well, you know what? That's where the toughness is from that you and your sister got. Your mom, of course, obviously. I mean, she was self-destructive ultimately, of course, but she was
Mhm.
also, I mean, ridiculously strong to go through what she went through. Can't even
Right.
imagine. Can't even imagine.
Right. And that whole thing has developed even more because, yeah, like I was told my
Hmm.
grandpa was super physically abusive. And then I'm talking to my uncle, her little brother, and I'm finding out he's like 90% sure that my mom was being raped by her dad. And I'm like,
Who said this? Who said this?
My uncle Sean told me this, and
Oh.
I was like, fuck, you know, that that might be a thing, you know, like because
Hmm.
I mean, I've read
Well,
an embarrassing number of memoirs, and there is a certain pattern that family dynamic seems to follow, and it's exactly what he described.
sure. Even if she had a perfect childhood, what she went through as an adult,
Mm.
like required, I mean, it was hard. What she went through was harder than what you've gone through because she had kids through it, and her life. I mean, well, yeah, you probably faced about the same amount of danger, but yeah, I mean, to do
Yeah,
that with kids, to do that with
yeah.
kids,
Right. Well,
um,
like really, like the childhood determines what we're willing to experience and what we go through as an adult, you know. If I didn't have the childhood I did, I would not have had the early 20s to mid 20s life that I did because really it was from like 18 to 26 where it was just like I'm so impressed I survived.
yeah, well, not just survived but thrived. I
Right.
mean, now you're truly thriving. I mean, you even were thriving, I think, within like, well, when you once you moved to Morelia, you
Mm.
started
Mhm.
thriving basically as soon as you got there. I think, like, it wasn't perfect, but and you had issues, but you started to live and grow and heal and
Yeah,
right. I thought as soon as you moved there, and ever since you've been going straight up, pretty
right.
much. And
It's
I know you've had bumps, but you
yeah.
certainly it's been a pretty
Healing's
straight
never
line.
linear and it's never a perfect process, but
But
I
if you were to,
feel
yeah,
like I'm going up.
if you charted the last 7 years, it's definitely a straight up line. I mean, overall. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, Malcolm X when he was at before he was Malcolm X when he was a drug dealer in Detroit, his name or in Boston, his because he was from Detroit, his name on this his street name was Detroit Red. So I wanted your mom to have something like that. Like,
Yeah, no, she just had red, and I didn't know that. I have
hmm,
a I have Malcolm X's biography or autobiography sitting in my Audible account. I've been
Mhm.
binging memoirs for 2 years. I probably have listened to 150 memoirs. Just trying to
He's,
figure out how the fuck do I
I
write
mean,
my story, you know?
you know what? You should read his autobiography
I'm going to.
because actually, there are sort of some parallels with your life. It's not put it would be in the same genre, I think, of like,
There's
yeah,
another
I mean,
one.
coming from a very hard background. In fact, his was easier than yours because I think his parents were like solid middle class. But yeah, being in crime and being in prison and being incarcerated and being on the
An
street,
another
drug
one
dealer.
another one like that, that Brother Ali, I did an interview with him last year,
Oh
and
yeah.
he told me about Asada Shakur. You know about her?
Well, that's more complicated.
But
But
she died a fugitive in Cuba,
yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, there's some shit to say about Asada Shakur, but
Interesting, because 'cause I've listened to her audiobook. I'm curious
well,
about
I mean, so she killed a cop. I mean, now, okay, but I mean, they chose to. It was a very deliberate, conscious thing. It was they were robbing a bank and they got pulled over and they were ready. They had already said before this that they were ready to kill cops, and they killed the cops when they got pulled over. I don't. It was part of the whole Black Power movement in the '60s and '70s,
Well, that's interesting because if you listen to her
but
story,
she claims
she
innocent.
was
I
a
know.
Black Panther, and she said she wasn't actually involved in that bank robber and that they just framed her for that.
Total is bullshit. It's
Who
bullshit.
knows?
Same
Could
with same with so the thing the funny so same with Mumia Abu Jamal. Same exact
okay,
thing. He
interesting.
killed that cop. Like, I'm 99% sure he killed the cop. How do I the funny thing is like, in both cases, Mumia's Black Panther splinter group in Philadelphia and Asada's splinter group in Newark, both of them said publicly, we want to kill cops. Like,
Yeah,
it was a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
campaign in the early '70s. Some of these radical Black groups actually said, we're going to go. And they did. They assassinated like a dozen cops around the country. And I'm like, okay, it's cops, but also, what do you expect is going to happen when you kill cops? You're going to,
Right, 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 right. You're gonna
is it a great tactic? I'm also really, even though I hate cops generally as a class, I don't want to kill them randomly. Like, I'm not into that because they're not all evil.
it's also not
Um,
effective, for the
and
same
it's just
reason that
completely, well, it's the opposite of effective. It's the opposite. all
right.
all you get is sympathy for the cops then, and then you get your ass thrown in prison forever or run out of the country. So that's why she went to Cuba. So like, it's mixed. It's not like she killed an innocent baby on the street, but like it was very counterproductive at the very
I
least.
agree with that, and there's a lot of shit that she had to say about how the world worked that I didn't agree with. I think my favorite part of that book was
And she's a
actually the end.
communist. And she's a communist.
Exactly. That's
That's
what
the
I
other
mean by
problem.
that, but,
Yeah.
like, the end of that book I loved because she was talking about her life in Cuba and about how she was essentially arguing with people because she's like, "I'm a Black woman," and they're like, "No, you're a mulatto, you're brown." She's like, "No, I'm Black," and they're like, "No, you're brown, like, you're physically brown. You're not Black, you're not, like."
Right.
And she's
Right.
like, and it was interesting to hear her talk about that like mental disconnect there because
Yeah.
Latino cultures are very descriptive and there are a lot of Black people, Africans in Cuba,
Yeah.
right? But
Oh
it's
yeah. Oh yeah. A
I
lot.
found that interesting, but I was also cringing at the communist stuff. I was like, girl, I don't agree. Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't
Total
agree,
comedy.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
but
And she was Tupac's aunt, I think.
mhm,
Right? Aunt. That was the
mhm.
relationship. Yeah. So she's like and they're both from here, from the Bay Area, basically, or like they spent time here, like and like I grew up around that. The Black
Mhm.
Panthers, like their
Mhm.
headquarters was near and my parents knew some of the Black Panthers and had them over to our house, and they gave talks in my parents' groups, meetings and shit. So I saw that whole thing happening of all these white leftists just fawning over all these Black radicals. And then I went to high school later, went to high school and in college, and looked around and noticed that, like, seemed like half my friends were the product of a white woman civil rights worker and a black dude who was like part of some black group who came through town and never came back. Like these, I'm not exaggerating. In
No,
Berkeley,
no, I know what you mean. I
it's
know what you
it's
mean. Yeah.
it's extremely common. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's almost a meme, the black guy rolls through, gets the pretty white lady pregnant, then leaves, and she's a
that
single mom,
was
she's bitter, and
that was a big part of the Black Panther story, especially around here, because it was all started with the help of UC Berkeley students, and my mother was one of them. And it was like there were all these co-eds, there were all these young little white co-eds, and all these black cool dudes from Oakland who were revolutionaries. You think they didn't take that
well,
advantage?
like, that was a thing that Asada also actually complained about from my memory in her book, is like, why are all the brothers with the white girls,
Yep.
and it's just like, oh,
Yep.
and I get it.
Yep.
Here's the thing, like, I love African culture. I want to, and I have a long list of countries in Africa I want to go to. I want to go to Gambia. I want to go to Senegal. I want to go to Nigeria, Namibia. I got a long list, and I just want to
Well,
hang
you got to say like which African cultures, because of course there's very different. I mean, it sounds like more West
out.
African.
More West African,
Yeah. Yeah.
specifically, like, because I read the book Roots, of course, and I know
Ah,
that's partially
classic.
plagiarized and all of that, but I read that
Yeah.
book and I was just like, oh my God. And then I mentioned it to Brother Ali, and he's like, Kunta Kinte is actually the name of the oracle of the family, and there's still the Kinte family in the Gambia, and I know them. And if you ever want to go and listen to him tell his stories, you can. And I was just like,
Hmm.
fucking send me to
It's really
the Gambia.
it's really funny that you use the term Kunta Kinte, because my son constantly makes fun of the fact that I named him Toby. That was Kunta Kinte's slave name.
Yeah.
That the famous
Yeah.
most famous scene probably in all of Roots is when he's being whipped and being told that his name is now Toby, and he
Right.
refuses. And he
Right.
refuses. He said, "No, I'm Kunta Kinte," and he keeps whipping him, saying, "No, your name is Toby." And finally, he says Toby. So it was a white supremacist move on my part to name my son the slave name of Kunta Kinte. Isn't that
That's
terrible?
I hadn't considered that. But it's kind of funny. But like that book, reading it, there's like that point where he's like, "Oh, and then this little child many generations was born, this little boy, and that little boy was me." And when like I listened to the audiobook and it was narrated beautifully and that happened and I was just sobbing, just like, "What do you mean?"
So that book, I think, when did it come out? I think 1976.
76 or 78.
So let me looking it up, because yeah, 76. Yep. So it came out in 76. I was then when it came out, I was 11 years old, and I can't find you.
I'm
Where's
here.
oh, there it is. There it is.
Different
Okay,
tab
I
probably.
lost the window. Um, and I guess my parents must have bought it and brought it home. I read that entire. It's what is it? 600 pages, 700.
I
It's
have no
huge.
idea. I know it was a 24-hour audiobook.
Yeah, it's huge. Like I remember it being like this hardcover. I read that in. I read that entire book under my covers in bed in the middle of the night on school nights with a flashlight. And I read it every single night like that until I finished it. I mean, it was totally gripping, and it was a huge thing in my development. I grew up in a very integrated neighborhood, kind of half black, half white, and the Berkeley schools were really integrated. So I was always around black culture, always, but there was something about that. I mean, that book galvanized, and then the show came out right after that. I mean, that galvanized all the kids at my school, like the black kids. I mean, they got way into being black then and black culture and
Right.
all the stuff too. I mean, and in 1976, 77, that's also kind of like the height of soul culture. Like, I mean, the best music ever being played is like that's what's on the radio then. Um, yeah, my God. So
And then
yeah, that
you
was a huge.
birth of the hip hop era and everything that came after. And
Yeah, and then hip hop starts basically that same year. I mean, I think the first house parties in the Bronx, I think, were in 76.
Have
Yep.
you ever seen the movie Wild Style?
Yes, a long time ago. Yeah, I love all those hip hop movies from the 80s and 90s. Oh man, they're all good.
Man, and it's so funny because here in Mexico, if you're into rap, you're called cholo. And when
Oh
people
yeah.
ask me what I'm into, I'm just like, and not only am I into rap, like the autism is strong in that, like, I almost exclusively listen to Brother Ali because he speaks to my soul, you know? And like he explained it as the reason that I do that is because he and I are one and the same. We're similar people in terms of what we value, you know, the anti government, the love, the faith, the like overcoming hardships and all of that. But like, I took his songwriting class and I learned a lot about the culture around it, which I think is the thing I got out of it the most. I was like, okay, I'm not here to be a hip hop, you know, performer. I'm not going to write songs, but I do have a greater respect for the entire community as a whole, you know, and I think,
Isn't yeah. Sorry, don't
I
want
was
to be an
just going to
asshole.
say, I
But
think I
no,
was African in a past life. And I think that's where the fascination comes from.
oh, there you got a little Wigga in you, that's for sure. Isn't wait, Brother Ali, not to essentialize race or anything, but I thought he was white, or is
He
he
is.
albino? He is white.
He
Okay, yeah,
is.
yeah.
He's albino. He's white. But here's the thing: it's like
Wait,
because
albino Caucasian, right?
exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
but
right.
because primarily, not primarily, but there's a higher percentage of Black albinos. He found solace and home in the Black community in Minneapolis, and
That's
he was
right. That's
raised by
right.
Black Muslims. And so
That's
he
right.
says in the songs, "I was taught life and manhood by Black men." So like it was very much a that is the way that he was raised, and it's interesting. There is that focus on it. And it's funny because there are a lot of like anti-black people that listen to him because he's the white rapper. But if they listen close enough to his lyrics, they would know he's not that big of a fan of that. But he
Oh
is one
yeah,
of
no.
the most knowledgeable people on all of these things that I've ever known, you know.
Yeah. I love him. I think he's great.
He's
What's the
amazing.
what's that one banger that I love? It was on my playlist. What's his main hit called?
Uncle Sam goddamn.
Uncle Sam Goddamn. Oh man. Uncle Sam Goddamn is so
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the first song I ever heard by him, and I was just, like, fucking
Mm.
floored, like, there's this
Good.
one particular
Great
part.
politics. Like that's the best politics you'll ever hear in popular music,
The
I
crazy
think.
thing about that song is, like, he's on FBI wanted lists because of that fucking song, because
And
he ended up
well,
rapping it in Iran.
he's Muslim, right?
Well, yeah, he's Muslim, but even beyond that, they
That's why his
invited
rap
him to
is
speak at a conference in Iran, and then they
yeah.
like pushed him on
Cool.
stage and were like, "Rap Uncle Sam," but he didn't know, and they didn't tell him that rap was illegal in that country at that time. So what he did was he
Always
was
has been.
rapping against the U.S. government in Iran.
That's a trip. Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow. That
so
could be in my book.
you know,
Wow.
like I
Uh,
pulled up the lyrics. Fuck this website. I'm trying to find this one specific part. Ah, here it is. You don't give money to the bums on a corner with a sign bleeding from their gums, talking about you don't support a crackhead. What you think happens to the money from your taxes? Should
yeah,
the government's an addict? With $1 billion a week kill brown people have it. And even if
right.
you ain't on the front line, when mass yell crunch time, you right back at it. So he's like saying that shit and he was
Amazing.
getting death threats and everything. And he finally gets out of Iran and gets back to the United States, and they treat him like a terrorist. To this day, his children get flagged when they go back into the country. He lives in Turkey now because of
Oh,
this.
really?
Yeah,
Wow. Shit. Okay.
it's a whole
Well,
fucking thing.
he's probably fucking around with some Islamist group or something. Not that I care, but you know what I mean? He probably has something going on with somebody
It's
politically, you
it's
know?
mostly just hating on the US government, and he's also not a fan of what's going on in Palestine and all
Man,
the other things that are going
right.
on that you get
I'll tell you
censored for.
that song in particular, those lyrics, like that's as close to my politics as you'll ever hear in pop music
Right.
ever.
Same.
Now, I love a lot of the like anarchic hedonistic rap stuff, although that's not even happening anymore. Now it's just fuck you, nigga, bitch, pussy. But like
Right.
until the 2000s, it was basically just hedonistic party music for the most part, with some violence in it too. But like, and I actually, there's a lot in there that I vibe with politically, but like as a statement of actual policy principles and things like that, he's anti-war, he's anti-imperialist and anarchist, as far as I can tell.
He
Like,
is. He truly is. He does lean
yeah,
a little on the commie side. I've noticed some
okay,
lyrical, but like
I,
not enough to
I can fuck
matter
with that.
to me. Because to me, like, I'm not
Right,
afraid of communists like a lot of
right,
anarchists are.
me
I
too. I'm
read
the
all
same
that
way.
shit, you
Yeah,
know, like,
I'm cool with them as long as it doesn't get too out of hand. You know, as long as
yeah,
they
just
don't go.
like leave me to my devices. I'm gonna leave you to your
Yeah,
devices, and we can.
right.
Because in a
So
truly anarchist world, we're all going to coexist together, you know.
I got to be at the gym. It's pretty soon, but can I know it's your interview, but can I finish by asking you two questions?
Yeah, of course.
One is, are you going exclusively by Miranda now, or what is
Yep.
the fucking deal? Okay, so I need to
I
stop. I
never
need to
wanted
call.
to change my name because I loved my name. My name was unique. It was cool. I've always loved my name, and it fits in Mexico. They think I'm making up my name when I tell them my name here. Um, so yeah, I'm Miranda again. I don't get mad when people call me Lily. You know, like some people call me Lily Miranda, some people call me Miranda Lily, and some people, call me one or the other. I'll respond to all of it. But my
But you
heart
prefer.
is Miranda.
Okay, good. Good to know.
Yeah.
I will now change. Uh, okay, that's number one. Number two is, and this is really the question. And it's kind of a multi-part question.
Okay.
I know you've said this before, and we've talked about it, I think, before, but in this conversation, I think 3 or 4 times you referred to yourself as autistic.
Yeah.
And I know you've been public about that and talked about it before. So number one, I did you ever get diagnosed like officially?
So no, they didn't even do testing on girls when I was a kid. So I was
Oh
just a
wow,
weird,
really
sensitive girl. My little
interesting.
brother, he's officially diagnosed. But when I started looking into all this stuff, because I found out I was autistic when John was still alive, and he and we would have our struggles, and my response would be to hit myself uncontrollably. And I couldn't figure out why. And I Googled, why can't I stop hitting myself? And autism came up. And so I went down a rabbit hole, and then I realized, according to the DMS, or the official criteria,
Right.
I have all the criteria.
DSM.
DSM, yeah, I have
Yeah.
all of the criteria for autism.
Oh yeah.
And even more so, I have all the criteria for ADHD. So like I'm both of those. Um, and I've had some people, and I've distanced myself recently from some people who are vehement that I should not be labeling myself. But the reality is, this has allowed me to build my life in a way that works with the way my brain works. So I'm extremely effective. I'm happy. I'm regulated. But that doesn't make me not autistic. That doesn't make me not have ADHD. That's
Right.
just the way it is.
Okay, so let me tell you my history with that. My history with autism. How about that? Uh, my brother was and always has been. I mean, since he was 5 years old till to this day, has been exclusively a hardcore gamer. Okay,
Mm.
that's number one. Okay, so that's my childhood, right? Then as an adult, I got into politics, basically. So like, and for 10, 15 years, I was a Marxist socialist. So those are my friends. See where I'm going with this? And then when I was in my late 30s, I switched my politics and started hanging out with libertarians. And so for the last, what has it been, 15 years, I've been hanging out mostly with libertarians. So like my childhood was hung out with, where I was around gamers, not all the time, but my brother was, so I knew them. A lot of gamers, and then Marxists, intellectuals, and then libertarian intellectuals. So you might imagine that I've known a shit ton of people who,
Are autistic.
well, wait a minute, wait a minute. See, that's the thing. Miranda, formerly known as Lily, formerly known as, what was your case number in Ohio?
I
For
don't remember.
your inmate number. Um, was I going to say? Oh, who either describe themselves as autistic as you do, or other people, of course, describe them as, that's more common. So everybody was, oh, so and so is autistic. So I've been fascinated by this kind of my whole life from various angles. Sometimes just like hating autistic people because my brother was autistic. My dad was probably Asperger. Let's say he would have been diagnosed as Asperger's for sure. Let's say that.
Mm-hmm.
And just resenting the fuck out of being the only one in the family who, or at least that part of the family. And I lived only with them because my mother left. So I was left with these two autistic dudes, and me. So I was like the only one who could like carry a conversation with a stranger, or like, answer the door, like, and know what to say, or, I mean, and the only one with any emotional like acuity whatsoever. Like I knew when my dad was upset, where my brother was like clueless, he had no idea what was going on in the house. So for a long time, I just kind of resented every element of that type of personality. Notice my wording. I'm saying it's a type of personality.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also a culture. And it's become a big culture. I think there is a culture that I could call an autistic kind of culture.
Yeah,
And I think,
it can
and
be.
now I know. So now check it out. Uh, I kind of I've been wanting to do like a big pivot with my podcast, or maybe just maybe a medium pivot with it, because I'm kind of at loose ends about where to go with it. And I've wanted to go psychological, inner, you could say spiritual, go there and explore those questions more than politics and history and philosophy and blah, blah, blah. So this, like, I've already made tentative plans to do this, to do interviews with psychiatrists and people who have like expertise on autism. And I've been doing a little bit of research on this. Guess what, Miranda? The definition of autism has changed quite a bit
It has.
over the years, right? So how do you fucking know that you're autistic when they can't even decide what it is?
Well, here's the thing: the root of autism, in my opinion, and this is why there are so many libertarians and anarchists and people against the system that are autistic. It's very simple. One of the biggest symptoms of autism is something called PDA, pathological demand avoidance. They can't be told what the fuck to do. If they do, they
Oh,
physically
yeah,
revolt, right? And
right.
that combined with a strong sense of justice, because autistic people, we love rules. And when things don't make sense, we cannot tolerate them. And when you have the governments and the way that the world is set up just simply not fucking making sense, that's why you have so many people that are on the fringes that are autistic. I Now, I don't believe that everybody's autistic. Like some people say, I don't believe that everybody, even in the community, is autistic. There is a lot of neurodiversity. There's a lot of OCD, a lot of dyslexia, a lot of ADHD. But the reality is, like, autism one, if you live a lifestyle in accordance with how your brain works, it's not a disorder, it's a superpower. It's not a reason to be disabled or to be emotionally unintelligent. My friends know I'm autistic, so they know that if they're mad at me, they need to tell me they're mad at me, and they need to tell me why so I can address it. They can't just expect me to figure it out. That's the big thing that people in my life have to do to help me with it, right? But that's the reality with it, is that in essence is what it is. It is a sensitivity and a really really strong bullshit detector, a inability to tolerate inconsistencies
Mhm.
and illogical things within their life, combined
Yep.
with pathological demand avoidance. You cannot tell an autistic person what to do. If it doesn't make sense, they're not doing it.
Uh, yeah. Okay. So it's funny that I do have to go in about 10 minutes, but yeah, 10 minutes. But, well, I'll cut to the punchline here, but I do want to continue. Is that I was thinking I'll maybe interview you
I'm down.
on
It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
on this specific
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
no,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, and so yeah, it's funny. The new chapter in your life could be like autism spokesperson or whatever.
Well, that's part
Uh,
of like what I've been trying to do is like there are certain people that function the way that I do in this world, and we don't know how to go about things. And so many people are like, let me just get that diagnosis and let me get on government welfare and all this shit. And it's like, you don't need all that. You just need,
the yeah, uh, man, it's a tough one to unpack, but that's
I'm
why I
down.
want to do it.
Anytime
I
you
want
want,
to.
I'm down to come on and
Yeah, I
talk
mean, it just
about it.
occurred to me. I was like,
'Cause
wait, we need to have someone on who's like very clear that she's autistic to talk about what it's like. And you're very articulate about it. But what was I gonna say?
I've done years of research, and that's how
Oh,
I got to where I got. Like,
yeah. But again, I think what you're doing is you're starting from the categories that are currently established by the medical establishment, right? And you're saying, oh, they have this definition and I fit into it. Oh, there's this definition of this
but
thing and this
also Asperger's, and I've looked in past
same thing.
definitions because I
Do you
got
know
in
that?
years
Do you
ago.
know the origin? Do you know the origin of Asperger's?
It's a fucked up guy that was trying to reprogram autistic kids, from my understanding.
Yeah,
Very
Nazi.
scary dude. He was a
He was
literal Nazi. Yeah, you're
he was
right.
no, he was Hitler's doctor, and what he did was he weeded out kids like you and like my brother and sent them to camps. Yeah, and they were labeled as having Asperger's. My dad, they
Right.
would have been sent to camps. Um, so, oh, one thing you said I want to point out to me, which for me is the real crux of my problem with autism. Um, you said there are autistic people are have sensitivities, which I know they do.
Mm.
But when you said that, I was like, wait a minute, they're insensitive. But then I know they are sensitive, but they're sensitive to particular things, right? But they also have insensitivities, right?
Well, here's the thing, is like when you're so bogged down by physical sensation sensitivity, you become unable to have like it's hard to focus on the nuances of social sensitivity when a clothing texture feels like glass or something so loud it hurts in your head. Like certain sounds are physically painful, like certain textures like velvet. I can't, I
Physical.
can't, I can't handle
Yeah.
it. And so, like, when you're
Physical.
that
Yeah.
physically sensitive, it
Sure.
becomes
Yeah. Yeah.
really hard to notice.
Physical sensitivities. I know. The thing I said about my father and brother that drove me crazy was their emotional insensitivities, or at least I don't know, maybe they weren't insensitive, but I could never they seemed unaware of other people's feelings. They seemed unable to understand other people's feelings, that other people could have feelings that are different than theirs.
It's also a situation of, and this is a big part of what led to me switching gyms. It wasn't just different training style. It was he would be mad. He would expect me to know why he's mad. And then it would get
Oh,
worse. And then he'd start treating me badly because of it. And I'm like, I don't understand. He's like, I shouldn't have to tell you this. You're an adult. And I'm like, I hear you. And I don't understand. I don't see what happened here. I don't see how this was rude,
right,
for example,
right,
like.
right, right. Like, whereas if you had seen the words written out, Lily Miranda, that was a rude thing you said, then you would totally understand it and get it and move on, right? It's that it required
It
nonverbal.
requires extra labor, and I get that. That is a frustrating part of people who may not be autistic in my life that have to deal with me, is they do have to do a little bit of extra emotional labor. But the ones that are still close to me, like my friend Stephanie, we've had a few situations where she's like, "Hey, I told you this thing. I expected some sort of response. Why didn't I get a response to this thing?" And then we would like, go back and forth. And it was a little extra labor on her part, but I got to where she needed me to get as her friend to support her.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that most people just don't realize that
It's
we do just need that little bit of kernel of like, hey, this feels weird. I'm upset. What do you think?
it it's nonverbal communication that's the problem, right?
Exactly.
Like tone is
Mm.
hard to understand what it means for other people, right? What a particular tone means. Is that right?
Write a pic. particular tone, but for a perfect example is in class. I would be in there and I'd be watching my teacher do something, and he would do something I had seen a video of on TikTok. And I'd be like, oh, I saw a video of this. And I'd get really excited about it. And then he'd take it as, she's already seen this. She already knows what this is, and I have nothing to offer her. And so if you already know this, then just leave. And he would say that to me after. And I'm like, I don't understand. I was just, yeah, well,
Yeah.
don't. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't understand, right? Whereas,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pain in the ass. That is the hardest part about it, is knowing. And the thing is, it's not that autistic people don't care. It's actually the opposite. We can sense the disturbance and the force, but the fact that we can't figure out exactly what it is until somebody is kind enough to explain it in a healthy way, we'll obsess over it forever. We'll make ourselves sick over it. But yeah, it takes
Yeah.
extra labor though on
I
loved ones.
guess I think of it, I like to think of things generally not in biological or medical terms. I like not to make things into like a disease or a,
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? Like I'd prefer not to make you have, not to think of you that way as having something, you know? I think of it as a personality type.
It is.
And and I don't think we can ever really explain why certain people have it. Because, like, for instance, my brother, the leading theory in the family, and I always thought this, was that my mother left when he was 2, and so he had no mother, basically, you know, as a toddler and onward, and he kind of, that was when he started to wear a cape and become and he was like Superman, like that, and he was a superhero every day from then on. Literally wore a cape every day through his childhood. So, like, as a matter of, as a means of coping and escaping, like it was his means of escape into this fantasy world. But then, as I said, my father had the same personality
I
type.
think there's a
So
genetic component to it very strongly. And
maybe,
it's not like everybody in that family is gonna have that thing, right? But
like me.
certain, right, like certain
Well, I have some
experiences
of it.
will flip it on. You
I mean,
might be
don't you
more than you realize.
yeah, I was gonna say, don't you think I'm at least partly autistic? At least I
Yeah,
have
I
some of
wasn't
this.
gonna say it,
Oh,
but
I'm cool. Oh,
it's
sure.
very, well, here's the thing is, like,
It's
people
very
who,
what? Very obvious what?
it's not very obvious what kind of, but, like, you have all of the, like, that prior criteria I described. You don't like being told what to do. You don't like
Sure.
following rules that don't make sense.
Yeah, but that's
But
true for
but
that's true for
there's levels, right? Like, I consider myself more on the ADHD, and people talk about it as a line. It's not a line, it's a circle. And you have different things within it. Like my boyfriend, he's got autism and OCD and not a smidge of ADHD. That
right.
man can
Right.
hyperfocus for 4 days straight, whereas I change
Right.
what I do every 30 minutes.
You're not all the same. You're
Right.
not all the right.
And that's
Right.
that's where that's, I think, why the
Hmm.
definition keeps changing, but
Yeah.
specifically autism, it's that inability to be controlled, really. And
I have I have more autistic characteristics than you just named. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, my obsessiveness, my perfectionism.
your
Um,
special interests of boxing and hip hop and politics.
yeah, I don't know about that. Politics, yes. I don't know about boxing and hip hop, but
Well,
politics.
boxing, you are obsessed to an extent.
Yeah, okay, that's true, right, and I
And
do
you're
treat it
obsessed
in
because
an
it
autistic
feels
way.
good, right?
Well, I treat it in an autistic way because become obsessed. And I'm perfectionist about it too. Like, I need to know everything about it.
But
Um,
it also
but
feels good, right? Have you ever heard of
yeah,
stimming? Stimming is
yeah,
something that we do to stimulate our body to release that
sure.
nervous energy. It's why I love Circus so much. It's why I used to pick at my skin. People thought it was drugs. No, it was just because I was an unregulated autistic person. I still get acne. I just don't pick at it because I have crochet and I have other things to do with my hands.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Physical activity is a stim.
Yeah.
That's why you're,
Do you think your dad's autistic?
yeah. I had that talk with him in 2020, and I sat him down when he was here in person. I explained it all to him, and he was real stoned, and he was like, And I was like, what do you think? And he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, if that's autism, I mean, I think I might be dealing with that. And I was like, well, that's where I'm going here.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I mean, so what do I do about it? And I was like, you just be aware and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, thanks for
Yeah.
the autism, Dad.
And
Like,
maybe come on my podcast and we'll work it out. And I'll
I
yell at
got
him
to
for
figure
calling
out how to get him on this podcast probably when he comes to visit because he is
and I'll
terrible with technology.
and I'll yell at him for calling you fat when he's on my show. But all right, I do have to go to boxing, but this was
Yep, I
awesome.
also got to get myself to the gym and move some heavy shit. So,
Okay. All right.
alrighty.
Well, this was super fun.
It was. Let's do this again, but also let's do that episode you're talking about because
I
autism is my special interest.
I think I might. I think I might. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well,
All
thank
right.
you, Miranda. I got to get this like uh lasered into my brain now.
It'll take time, but eventually it'll just flip.
Okay. All right, sweetheart. Bye.
Bye. It was good to see you.
You too.